All right, I think Blue Collar Sports is live on YouTube.
We back?
We're back, Seth.
All
Take it away.
right. Blue Collar Nation, we are back and we welcome you all. Been quite the journey. Obviously, I'm sure everyone has their own journey here, but been quite some time. We tried to actually have a show through a Periscope thing or something, and didn't quite work out. So now, obviously, as you are seeing now, we are going to be doing it through YouTube, through our Twitter. That's what you'll see. It's obviously different locations now. No studio, which we'll talk about here in a second. But we hope that you are all well and safe, and we appreciate everyone that tunes in today, as always. And I know Trevor has, and I know I sure have missed you guys. But sports are back in a little bit of a different way. We'll break that down. But I'm ready to get into it. How are you doing, Trevor?
I'm doing all right, Seth. Is going to be back at Blue Collar Sports. I think we're live on YouTube. If we're not, apologize. We'll find a way to get it on there. But this is our first time trying it out because we're not in studio anymore. We can't do our regular Blue Collar Sports in Boise, Idaho. We're going different ways right now. So we're going to try and figure out the best way to continue our show for you guys. I know we got a great fan base and we want to keep doing our show, talking sports. It's what we love to do. So so far, so good. It looks like I'm doing okay, Seth. I am quarantined though because I do have coronavirus. I got it a couple weeks ago. I've been all over the place, so it's been a crazy summer. Definitely a weird year already. So we'll talk about that. But I'm doing okay though. At least it didn't hit me too hard, so I'm doing okay. Just staying safe, staying away from everybody, and I'm glad to be back here though at Blue Collar Sports.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how we're doing it. We are back, and obviously, hope you're doing well. We are in different locations, Trevor. You want to talk about your summer a little bit, and I'll go over mine.
Yeah. It's been crazy ever since our last show at Blue Collar Sports in Boise. We didn't know it was going to be our last show. You know, school kind of just closed up after COVID and we never went back. But I ended up graduating. I moved on and now I'm in Arizona. I've been attending Arizona State University for grad school. I'm going to be working down here. I know, Seth, you're going to be out in Boise still, got another year. So
Yeah.
we got to figure out the best way to do this show virtually. But good thing about this coronavirus thing is that a lot of people are working virtually and finding new ways like Zoom. So that's the good thing that's coming out of this. And that's going to allow us to do this show, I believe.
That's probably I'm probably the worst virtual person in the world now, and I can't do any of this stuff. So I guess it is a positive. I am trying to adapt and trying to learn a little bit more about it. Obviously, we can't just go sit in a studio and do our show anymore, but still going to bring you content because sports are going, and that's what we're passionate about. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a hectic year. Obviously, during the summer, sports shut down. The NBA was the first one. It seems like forever ago that happened. And
Yeah.
we didn't realize what was really going to go down after that Jazz game when Rudy Gobert got it. But ever since then, life's been totally different. But now we see the NBA's in the bubble. The NBA's in a bubble. All the other sports are trying to get going. So it's going to be very hectic end of the year here. But this is going to be crazy times because all these sports are trying to get going. All the major sports going to be playing at the very exact same time now, which I don't think has ever happened. So the next couple of months are going to be absolutely insane. And I'm all here for it. It's given us some normalcy to life. We're finally getting back. I know Idaho, not as many people, so it's probably been pretty safe up there. But I'm in Arizona; it's a hot spot. That's where I got it, so I can't really go out and do too much. So, but it's good to have sports back on TV, and I can't wait to see what's going to go on the rest of this year.
Yeah, and we'll get right to it because there was some breaking news that actually came just I saw about half an hour ago. The Marlins have officially been cleared to play. They're going to be playing the Baltimore, or I think it might have been the Detroit Tigers. Tigers or Orioles in their first series back. Which I mean, not that anyone's really going to watch that series anyway. But they're back. They're playing baseball again, and it came after a time when I truly thought baseball was going to shut down. Still think there's a possibility of that, or do you think it will make it through?
Yeah, well, let's kick it off with baseball right now because MLB is kind of getting the headliners if they're handling this COVID-19 situation correctly. We know NBA, NHL, MLS, they're all in the bubble. They're doing their own thing. MLB is the only one currently that's still playing and they're traveling. And we've seen teams like the Phillies and these other teams, the Marlins, get players have coronavirus and they're not able to compete in their games. In the beginning, it was a big issue with the Players Association, the MLB themselves. I didn't think it was going to be a season at all because of that issue, but they found a way
Yeah.
to get it going. It's a 60 or so game season, and so that's what they're doing right now. So far, I don't think we need to overreact from the positive test. I think it's smart to cancel the games they can. If they have the ability to make up those games later in the season, then they should do it. However, I believe at the end of the year, they're going to use winning percentage to do the tiebreakers if teams aren't able to catch up to the overall records to the other teams that play a full season. So as of right now, I think they're handling things the right way. I know a lot of people have been heated with Rob Manfred, but I actually think he's doing a fine job. I think the players were kind of out of the where the real problem here. They can't expect full pay and not playing and stuff. That's just not how it works here. These teams need to make money, and I know it's tough with their families and traveling and stuff. I know players are going to get it, but you got to be smart about it. You got to go to work, do your business, and leave, because what I've seen so far is that all these teams are handling it the right way. If you're going to get the virus, it's going to be your own doing, not at the team facilities. You're going to be outside doing your own thing. So these guys just could be smart about it. If they are, I think we're going to have a full MLB season to the standards they're doing right now. So I don't think we should overreact just yet.
Well, you know what's interesting? You bring up Rob Manfred. That's something I want to talk about too, because the beginning of this whole coronavirus thing, Rob Manfred was kind of a big loser in this, and a lot of people were coming at him because, like you said, they could not come to an agreement with the owners and the players, and a lot of people were coming after him. But I completely agree with you. Where now I think it's on the players. You know, the Cardinals were a team I think the second team to have an outbreak after the Marlins. And now there's reports coming out that they were spending time at a casino in Atlanta. And all this stuff, and that's solely on them. Rob Manfred can't control that. He needs some help here, especially if they're fighting for full pay, and now they're going out and living it up at a time when they really shouldn't be. And when Rob Manfred kind of came out, he kind of attacked the players, said, "Hey, I need some help here." And that extent, I agree with them. But I think baseball is really a test for football, because those are the two, I think, hardest sports right now to play. The NBA, you can survive in a bubble because it's shorter rosters, shorter staff. The facilities needed are a lot smaller. A basketball court is a much smaller than a facility for a baseball diamond or a football field. The facilities and the equipment involved with basketball are not to the extent of the NFL or the MLB, where you have bigger facilities and bigger rosters. And so it's going to be really tough. Baseball, I think you're going to have to travel because they have to use their own facilities. But how you set regulations on players going out and stuff is tough, because you can't tell a 30-year-old guy to be in bed by 10 o'clock. And you can get away with it at the collegiate level, but at the professional level, hopefully those guys have that responsibility on themselves. But if they want to go out, it's pretty hard to tell a 30-year-old athlete who's making millions to, no, you have to be in bed, lights out by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, well, you just got to kind of realize the world we're living in right now is not what we're used to. So you kind of have to sacrifice something if you want to make it happen. There's not as many opt-outs in baseball, I believe, as there have seen in football already. But if you don't want to take the risk, you don't have to play. It's as simple as that. But if you want to earn a paycheck, if you want to provide for your family, you got to go do your job, and that's what this is. It's your job, and we can't sit back and just let this happen and expect we're going to have the same revenue in a year. That's just not how it works. You got to make money now if you want to survive. And I'm glad MLB's playing, because if they weren't going to have a season this year, I was actually very afraid about their future, because we've already seen the decline in viewership. We've seen the decline in players participating. And if they didn't have a season and this whole issue was going to brew over, then I was very afraid for the upcoming years. But they're getting going right now. So far, so good, I believe, even with these positive tests that's going on right now. I think they're going to find a way to remake these games, or at least finish out strong, hopefully. But you're right, it is a test for the NFL. NFL can't do a bubble. That's just that's nonsense here. MLB, I thought they could have had a chance if they wanted to do, a Florida and then an Arizona kind of.
Kind of like what the NHL is doing, where there's two locations.
Yeah, it would be like the NHL. NHL is doing that right now. But I'm in Arizona right now. It's 115 degrees outside. No one wants to play in that. So I understand what the players going right now.
They've got 3 more months of games to be played.
Right. It's just very tough. So, but I think MLB is going to figure it out, and hopefully they do.
Now moving to a positive note, let's talk some hoops now. Obviously NBA. the bubble. I got a lot to say about the bubble, and I guess I'll kick it off in that it is winning me over. When they first announced this whole bubble thing, I was very skeptical about it. I was excited because we were gonna get live sports again. I was like, I'm never gonna count this as a champion. I'm not gonna watching basketball. It's just kind of entertaining. I don't see it. First of all, I didn't think the players were gonna buy into it as much. The players, from everything I've seen, I was talking to one of my old basketball coaches the other day. From everything I've seen, and we were talking about this, these guys are loving it. It seems like the basketball hasn't really dropped a beat. These guys want to win. It's still very competitive. Obviously there's those virtual fans or whatever. But it seems like these guys are buying into it. If they're buying into it, it makes a good basketball, and I'm starting to buy into it. What are your thoughts on the bubble?
Yeah, I'm all in on this. I love what the NBA is doing
I
so
thought
far.
you like
Props
it.
to them. Props to Adam Silver trying to do what he's able to do
Yeah,
right now with the bubble. I think it was a great
and
idea.
everything before it.
Props to MLS also though. They were the first ones to try it out. No positive tests with them. They kicked some teams out in the beginning that had tests that were positive, and they're crushing it right now. So NBA took a page out of them. They're doing their bubble thing in Orlando at Disney World. And you're right. I didn't know how players were going to react. We know there's other bigger issues going on as well. And Kyrie Irving wanted to sit out. Some other players did as well. But that's their choice. They could do
Really
that.
working
Um,
there.
like I said, this is their job. If you want to earn a paycheck, you got to show up to work, and that's what they're doing. I love the idea. If I was a player, I think this would be so much fun. It's like a old school AAU tournament, going down to
Yeah.
Florida for a month or so. I know it's gonna be pretty long. I don't want to say it's a success already because they've still got months to go. It's going to be a long time, and hopefully there's no new tests that pop out of there. But so far so good. If I was a player, I would have loved it because you're just with your teammates. If you're with your buddies, you're hanging out in your room, you're playing games. It looks like, and they're going to practice. I watched Nick Nurse this morning on Colin Coward's show, and he said his team is just buying into it. He's
Mhm.
not talking a whole lot because he doesn't want to wear them out at all. They're there for they're there for a reason, yes, but they're also having fun with it. They're enjoying the unknown and the circumstances we're involved with right now. So if the players are going to buy into it, then I think these teams are going to go out there and play well. All the games so far have been incredible.
Yeah.
They're going out there, they're
You keep
competing
on
hard.
going
They
on.
look like playoff games already. Some
Mhm.
teams are fighting to get into the playoffs, so I think we're gonna have a great couple months here in the NBA bubble. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far, and I just hope everyone stays healthy.
No, it's so true. I love it. I'm also upset that you brought up it's like an AAU because that's actually gonna be my next point. What I miss most about playing basketball was those AAU tournaments. In the moment, it seems like it's a drag. I remember I had a month long road trip where we went to LA, we went to Portland, we went to Seattle, and during that time, it feels like a grind. But you miss that the most. You miss being in the hotel with your teammates,
Yeah.
just kind of messing around, going down to the hot tub or whatever, just kind of getting that continental breakfast. And I'm sure theirs is a little bit nicer, a little bit of a nicer experience than the hotels that I deal with. But I think a lot of it does bring back those memories because obviously all those guys have those memories of those AAU circuits and those long road trips with your teammates. And yes, it's hard to call it a success yet because it is still early. But from what I've seen, the basketball is still pretty good,
Mhm.
which is what I want to get into now because I got some scores pulled up right now. Can we talk about TJ Warren for a second? Dude scored 53 in his first game, then has followed up with a 34 and 11 game. He's got 17 at the end of the first quarter right now.
Dang.
Who's Bubba Warren? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But I love that you bring up the point that these guys are going down there. They're enjoying the moment. That's what they're all there for. They've had these couple of months to kind of just relax, take a step back from life, and figure out what's going on and what they really want. But I think that with the opportunity to be in Orlando and play basketball, it's showing them that they love this sport. This is their job. They want to provide for their families, and that's why I think we're seeing this intensity and energy that we've normally only seen the playoffs, but right now we're seeing it right now. And we see guys like TJ Warren coming out here and absolutely putting on a show for Indiana. I think
Mhm.
these guys, they don't have to travel as much. I think they're going to stay healthy. I think Russell Westbrook's playing very well. That's another guy that's going to thrive with these circumstances because he's going to
Yeah,
be healthy
and Rockets
and
in
have his
general.
energy all the time. And I think we're going to see the best out of a lot of players right now. That because they're in the only one location, they're not going a lot around everywhere. They have all of their resources right there where they need them. And like you said, they're hanging out at the hotel. Dame Dolla's making music in his room. Everyone's playing 2K. So I would love to be there right now. If I was a reporter, that'd be so much fun. But so far, so good in the NBA. And I think this is only beginning. We're going to see guys like TJ go out there, compete hard, and it's gonna be incredible end of the NBA season, hopefully.
I know it's early, but before we go and wrap up our NBA talk, which is something we always do on our show, the tiers. Give me your championship tier, your contender tier, and your pretender tier.
Okay. I'll start up at the top here with my contenders. Going into it, we all know about the two LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. That was the first game we saw too. I know the Lakers won it, but let's talk about the Clippers. They were missing some guys. You know, Lou Will was out in the club in Atlanta, so they did lose to. They were losing to Phoenix here. That's a big loss. Phoenix is playing well. That's a team that we gotta see. Some of these teams like them, the Mavericks, the Blazers, they're playing very well, and I love seeing that. So, but back to the contenders, Lakers and Clippers obviously are in it. For me out west in the East, I think the Bucks are, yes, the best team in the East. However, they did lose today to Brooklyn. Of huge underdogs here. Brooklyn came back and won that game. But the Bucks, they're still the leader in the East. However, I do want to talk about the Celtics. I do like what they're doing. But you know, with them and the Bucks were just too strong. They just ate them alive. But let's talk about the Raptors for a second. This team is unbelievable what they've been able to do without Kawhi Leonard. Second best record in the Eastern Conference. They beat up on the Lakers.
Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse has been fantastic. Everyone's praising him he should have been coach of the year, I think. But props to the Raptors. I don't want to say they're NBA title team, but I think they could upset the Bucks and appear in the finals. I just don't think they can win it without that one guy like they had last year in Kawhi Leonard. The next tier, I think it's going to be the teams like the Rockets and the Nuggets. And then the Heat, you know, those are good teams. I just don't think they have what it takes to be that next level.
Where you got
west, Philly's going to be in that conversation as well. They got talent. I've been disappointed in Ben Simmons. I got to be honest. He's not really. He's there I think for the fun of it right now. He's enjoying it too much probably, and I just don't think the chemistry is really there with him and Joel Embiid and all the guys that got there. It just doesn't look too strong for me. And then everyone else is the tier afterwards. I think the race in the Western Conference I know the Eastern Conference is pretty solidified with the top 8 teams. We pretty much know who's going to be. Out West is a real conversation now. We know the Grizzlies are in the 8th seed right now. However, they haven't looked too good. They dropped 1 to Zion and the Pelicans. But the Blazers are my team. I think the Blazers are going to beat the Rockets tonight, and they're going to advance and try and get that 8th seed. We know that whoever is going to finish 9th in the Western Conference, and if they're within 4 games from the 8th seed, they're going to do a play-in series with number 8 seed.
As of right now, I think that's 4 teams within 2.5.
Yeah, so it's going to be a race, obviously, with the Blazers, Spurs, and Pelicans trying to get in there where the Grizzlies have it. So that's going to be a fantastic race to see. I think the Blazers are going to be the team that does it. They got the most firepower right now. They've been injuries all season long, but now they're healthy. Dame Dolly's playing very well. I think he's going to get this team into the playoffs. But, you know, out West, the only teams I think who have a real legit shot are the Lakers and the Clippers. In the East, I think it's the Bucks, Raptors, and the Celtics.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I've been trying to kind of make my tiers. I kind of got 4 different tiers right now. I got my championship tiers, which is I only see 3 teams that could legitimately win the championship. If I had to put money on it, there are 3 teams I feel confident in saying they could go win championship, and that's, like I said, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Bucks. Clippers roster is a little nervous right now because they're so up and down. They're missing guys. Occasionally, they really, I mean, even before all this COVID-19, Kawhi Leonard was sitting out games. Paul George was battling injuries, and they really haven't spent a lot of time on the court together, which makes me a little bit nervous. Lakers have spent a little bit more time, and obviously the Bucks, but I think the Bucks are a little bit below on the talent spectrum. I think Chris Middleton has the most pressure on him throughout these entire playoffs.
Yeah.
But those are 3 teams that I could see winning championship. My next tier is the teams that I wouldn't like, kind of like what you said, the Raptors, my teams that I think could make a run at the championship, but I would be surprised to see them win a championship. And that is the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Rockets. I think the Rockets do have the 3rd best chance out in the West because I think this bubble style really fits them because it's very down, quick pace, more scoring that fits their style than a typical NBA playoff game. But what does make me nervous is relying on teams that just get hot randomly. Anytime you meet a Rockets fan, one of my buddies is a big Rockets fan. Anytime you meet a Rockets fan, they say, "Oh, well, if we get hot," yeah, that's the case in any time. Could you get hot 4 times in a 7-game span against the best of the world? Can you get hot 4 games? Because that's gonna be tough to do when you got LeBron, you got Kawhi, you got all those guys in front of you. So I think they're just below that tier. Celtics still a little bit too young. For me, Kemba hasn't really played playoff basketball before. Gordon Hayward's not his same self. Love Tatum and Jalen, but I think give it 2 more years and they're going to be running the East. But I don't think this is going to be their run. Raptors, great story, amazing team. Love watching them. The talent-wise just makes me really nervous come playoff time. But I said the same thing about the Raptors team last year, and they pulled it off. My next tier is the pretenders. The team's kind of like Portland last year, a team that could slip into the Western or Eastern Conference Finals that probably shouldn't have been there. We all knew Portland wasn't going to make much noise once they got to the Western Conference Finals, but they made a great run.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple teams like that, like the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets, the Heat, the Pacers, the Sixers, I think are in that tier. Not big on the Sixers at all. But the Thunder,
I've been disappointed too.
Jazz make me very nervous right now. Just not a whole lot of offensive powerhouse, especially without Bogdanovic there. They really have no offensive weapons if Mitchell's in scoring. So can't have them at 10. And the rest of the guys are obviously just kind of faders.
Just kind of there.
But those would be my tiers.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you. I give a slight edge to some teams like the Raptors and the Celtics, where I think they have a chance to get to the finals and upset the Bucks. I'm not sold on this Milwaukee team just yet. I know Giannis is an incredible player, but we've yet to see him really take over and be the face of the league. I know he's won MVP. He's probably going to get it again, but he needs to really step it up. And, I like Chris Middleton as a player, and I just think, unfortunately, there's too much pressure on him to really live up to what we really think he is. I just don't think that's right. So I could see some teams that with experience like Toronto kind of upset them and get there. But I don't know if those guys will be able to win it like the Bucks or the Clippers and the Lakers as well.
We're going to see what happens. Quick scores update before we hit off the break. Like you said, Nets beat the Bucks today. See this article pulled up right here. This was the largest NBA upset point spread wise. Nets came in as 19.5-point underdogs and were able to beat the Bucks. Anything could happen in the bubble. Pacers already up by 30 in the second quarter against the Magic, destroying them. Mavericks beat the Kings in overtime. Luka, 34 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists. Face the future. Suns beat the Clippers that we talked about by 2. Devin Booker at 35 today. And then the Celtics Heat just tipping off. And like you mentioned, Rockets Blazers tonight on TNT.
Yeah, absolutely loving what the NBA is doing with the bubble. Props to them, props to MLS, props to NHL. They're getting started as well. They're doing the 2-city location as well. They're getting right into it. They're doing 12-team playoffs. I love what I'm seeing out there. So that's fantastic. Gonna be great hockey there. But I think all eyes are really on MLB, what they're going to do, and then what the NFL is going to do coming down the road. I know everybody's getting back to training camp now, and we're yet to see what's going to go on with preseason, if we're going to have a game or not, and then how are the season's going to handle it. Are these guys going to go just all out on it, or what's going to go on? Are they going to try and do some schedule breaks? We'll see what goes on there. So all eyes are on them, and I can't wait to see what's going to go on. But we're going to update you every once in a while here at Blue Collar Sports. We're going to try to do these lives on YouTube every once in a while before we figure out a set date, set time. I know we're both pretty crazy right now in our lives, so we're going to figure out when's the best time to broadcast shows for you guys at Blue Collar Sports.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more NFL. This is we got another segment coming up for you today, so sure good to be back. Sure looks good on you, Trev.
Yeah.
Been missing Blue Collar for sure. But we ain't going away yet today. We are going to take a quick little break, and we're going to be right back here to talk some NFL and what's going on in the COVID world of the NFL.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. This is Blue Collar Sports.